Live in high definition, taking action, getting results. This is News Channel 3 at 6.
A new plan for construction work on the downtown tunnel.
It's not perfect, but it works, and it allows people to be able to flow back and forth.
Shutting down more nights and costing more money. 35 students on board a school bus in Virginia Beach that crashed into a car, killing a man. Some of the kids saw him die and now could experience PTSD. A SWAT team dispatched in Chesapeake looking for a pair of armed bank robbers. The SWAT was searching for the men or the car they were in. They were seen leaving the Wells Fargo on Battlefield Boulevard Inn. And Marissa Jasic has more on the search for the bank robbers.
Chesapeake police say this abandoned maroon station wagon is tied to a Wednesday morning bank robbery. Around 10:45, police say two armed and masked thieves came into the Wells Fargo off North Battlefield Boulevard and demanded money. No one was hurt, but the two were seen driving off in the same burgundy car. The investigation led police a few minutes down the road to the Green Tree apartment complex where they believe the two suspects were. Their getaway car was parked outside Building 701. A SWAT team cleared one apartment, but to no avail. No one was inside. The station wagon was towed away, and police continue their search for the two masked robbers. If you have any information, you can call the crime line at 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP. In Chesapeake, Marissa Jasic, News Channel 3.
Closing the downtown tunnel on weekdays instead of weekends. VDOT says the change is going to cost millions of dollars, but the Portsmouth mayor says it is good for business in his city. Gabriella DeLuca is live at the tunnel, and Gabriella, you have more on this new closure plan.
Hey, Kurt, the city of Portsmouth and Mayor Kenny Wright were very concerned about these downtown tunnel closures that are now no longer. Now, we spoke to the mayor and VDOT officials today about what led up to that decision. It's a new plan that VDOT Chief Deputy Commissioner Charlie Kilpatrick calls less efficient to make the switch from weekend downtown tunnel closures to nighttime closures.
It's about 3 times roughly the number of nights that it will take to get the work accomplished. The total additional cost of going to these night times, we anticipate somewhere between $2 and $4 million. It is less efficient than the original plan.
But it's something that he says needs to be done to compromise with the city of Portsmouth.
It's a balance between the concerns of the city of Portsmouth and the need to get this necessary work accomplished.
Since the weekend closure started, Mayor Wright and the people of Portsmouth were angry, saying it cut off a key entrance to the city, causing businesses to suffer. So they brought their concerns to VDOT, who came up with alternative plans. With Mayor Wright, VDOT officials made the decision to switch to nighttime closures.
It won't have the impact that most of our businesses and residents were complaining about. So it's not perfect, but it works, and it allows people to be able to flow back and forth.
Sunday through Thursday, the westbound tunnel will be closed from 8 at night till 5 in the morning. And on Friday and Saturday, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. During those times, VDOT is telling drivers to use alternatives, the Midtown Tunnel, Jordan Bridge, and Gilmerton Bridge, and that it's hard to make everyone happy.
Regardless of when we close a facility, there is an impact to business. It's a 24-hour-a-day region. How do you get this necessary work done and limit the amount of impact?
The weeknight closures start the first week of November. Live in Portsmouth, Gabriella DeLuca, News Channel 3.
How to fix Virginia's highway headaches is a major factor in who voters are supporting in this year's race for governor. And News Channel 3's Les Smith joins us now to tell us more.
ODU released a new poll today on the governor's race, and it's a real glimpse into the minds of voters, and here's why. Researchers interviewed 627 likely voters. They asked not only about the candidates, but about how they feel about 20 important issues. The results showed Democrat Terry McAuliffe with a 7 percentage point lead. McAuliffe's support is at just over 44%, while Republican Ken Cuccinelli stands at just under 37%. ODU's Dr. Jesse Richmond conducted the poll.
I'm pretty confident that we're seeing a lead for McAuliffe that's, it's big enough that this isn't just statistical sampling. That's unlikely.
The poll also showed support for the third-party candidate, Libertarian Robert Sarvis, at around 7%. Less than some other recent polls, but a strong number for a third-party candidate in Virginia. He pulls more support away from Cuccinelli than McAuliffe, but does even better with independents.
Principally from the people who are disenchanted or not affiliated with either party, and that seems to be a growing portion of the electorate.
The ODU poll went beyond the horse race and looked at issues. Number one on voters' minds is transportation. More than half approve of the transportation deal approved this year by the General Assembly, while less than 30% are against it. McAuliffe supports it. Cuccinelli does not.
It's kind of ironic that this is a deal which was worked out by the Republican governor, but it's one that's been embraced by the Democratic candidate, opposed by the Republican candidate in this race.
In response to the ODU poll, the Cuccinelli campaign points out there are enough undecided voters and people who say they support Sarvis but could switch to swing the results their way. Les Smith, News Channel 3.
A Virginia Beach school bus driver involved in a deadly crash is on leave pending the outcome of an investigation. The driver of bus number 66 was headed to Bayside High when it hit and killed Christian Montez yesterday morning. Investigators are still interviewing witnesses and will present their evidence to prosecutors to decide if there will be any charges. Meanwhile, psychologists fear that students on board the bus during the accident could experience PTSD. News Channel 3's Jessica Larche has the story.
The aftermath of the accident that took Christian Montez's life is tough for anyone to see.
Like seeing the guy underneath the bus and just all the ambulances and the police officers and everything.
But for the kids on board the beach school bus headed for Bayside Tuesday morning,
the guy died and I saw it.
Seeing their bus hit and kill the sailor and father of two is traumatic.
I'm still really shooken up. I'm still very emotional about it. It's not an easy thing to not think of and overcome, what just happened.
Child psychologist Rick Ellis says a good bit of the 35 kids on board bus 66 during the accident may experience post-traumatic stress disorder.
While you think one incident, they weren't involved, they weren't driving, they didn't know the person, it can still be a challenge for them to emotionally process what had happened.
Ellis says parents should watch out for any different behavior in their teens following the crash.
Depressed, withdrawn, acting out, and a variety of different symptoms, re-experiencing the trauma, seeking out thrilling behavior.
Ellis says after something like this, the bus 66 kids may even develop anxiety about riding school buses.
Sometimes it's a good idea to allow the child to get driven to school for a while, to take the opportunity to allow those emotions to get processed.
While what the kids are going through can't be compared to the pain Montez family feels, Ellis says the teens' emotions shouldn't be treated lightly.
You think about it, you relive it, you re-experience it.
Now, we're told counselors were at Bayside High today. The Commonwealth's Attorney's Office will be screening evidence in this case to determine what, if any, charges will be filed. Now, this is not uncommon for deadly crashes like this. Investigators could be handing over their evidence sometime this week, but police have already said speed was not a factor in this crash. Jessica Larche, News Channel 3.
Well, in the past 2 days, there have been 2 school bus accidents in Hampton Roads. This week happens to be National School Bus Safety Awareness Week. Local experts say many school bus accidents here are caused by drivers just not paying attention. News Channel 3's Jackie Morlock has the details.
A deadly school bus crash in Virginia Beach yesterday and a fender bender this morning in Norfolk. That's 2 crashes in 2 days. Experts at AAA Tidewater say accidents like the one in Norfolk happen most often in Hampton Roads. And many times, they say, it's because drivers just aren't paying attention.
What are some of the precautions you take if you are driving behind a school bus?
Always be aware to look. That's the biggest thing. You have to be aware of what's going on around you, not just in front of you, but beside you.
Georgine Blumling with AAA Tidewater says drivers may also not be aware of state law. According to Virginia law, drivers must stop when approaching a stopped school bus in any direction until everyone is clear and the bus starts moving again. a law that, if broken, brings with it a $500 fine.
The only time that isn't in effect is if there is a hard median between you and where the bus is on obviously a divided roadway.
While drivers News Channel 3 talked to admit they don't know the formal law, they say they stop anyway.
If a school bus is stopped, do you ever consider passing it?
No, never.
Why is that?
You never know what a bus is going to do. It might be about to let some children off, so I'd rather have that safety cushion and not try to zip by it.
Jackie Morlock, News Channel 3.
Let us talk weather now. Cloudy for much of the day in Hampton Roads. Still, though, a lot of people taking to their boats on the Elizabeth River this afternoon. Want to check in now with Chief Meteorologist Patrick Rocky in the Live Viper Forecast Center. And Patrick, some cooler weather is headed our way.
It certainly is. As a matter of fact, you see the blues and greens. We'll let you know how chilly it's going to be when you wake up tomorrow morning in your neighborhood. Plus, a look ahead to the next 7 days coming up.
On the military watch, the surge force of Navy ships stationed off the coast of Syria will finally be coming home. And News Channel 3 is learning that no one will be replacing them. Lori Simmons has the new details.
At the height of the Syria crisis, the Navy had 5 destroyers and an aircraft carrier strike group ready to respond.
Your shipmates are out there on Nimitz, Lawrence, Stockdale, and all those other ships, and they are providing the credible threat to them, to the Syrian government.
But now Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Jonathan Greenert says some of those ships will finally be on their way home after their deployments were extended to 9 and even 10 months. He broke the news today at an all-hands call at Naval Station Norfolk.
The Nimitz is on a schedule to come home.
According to Navy officials, the Nimitz strike group will leave the Mediterranean in the next few weeks to return to Washington State, and there will be no replacement sent for her. Only the Truman Carrier strike group will remain in the region, sailing around the Arabian Sea for their regularly scheduled deployment. Some in naval circles around Hampton Roads had talked about deploying the USS George H.W. Bush early to take over for the Nimitz, but Admiral Greenert pushed those rumors aside.
The Bush is on a schedule which we expect will remain, not sooner, not later than before.
Sometime early in 2014, the Bush will head out to replace the Truman for 9.5 months at sea. Greenert says barring any more international crises, that should be the last long carrier deployment.
The Bush is actually kind of the bridge to what should be a much more stable deployment scheme of about 7.5 months.
Now, when it comes to destroyers, Navy officials say the Norfolk-based USS Barry and USS Gravely will be right behind the Nimitz, coming back to Hampton Roads after their deployments were extended for the Syria crisis. They will not be replaced either, so only 3 ships will remain in the Mediterranean near Syria: destroyers USS Monterey, USS Stout, and USS Ramage. Lori Simmons, News Channel 3.
So there we see again main engine ignition and liftoff of the Antares vehicle.
It started with a bang at Wallops Island and ended with a drop in the ocean. A successful mission, meaning more launches in Virginia. Next on News Channel 3 at 6. News Channel 3 is taking action against crime tonight. Portsmouth police need your help to find a fugitive wanted for a home invasion. On August 2nd, police say 25-year-old Stefan Theus forced his way into a home on Carver Circle with a gun. Investigators say Theus stole the victim's purse and car keys, then drove off in her car. Police found the car later. Theus is charged with robbery, carjacking, and burglary. If you have any information about Stefan Theus, take action and call the crime line. And tonight at 11, we are taking you inside a bank robbery investigation. Police are showing us evidence to try to get a break in the case. This bicycle could be the key to solving this robbery, and we have the surveillance video that shows the armed robber.
The bank being full of customers and this guy with a gun, it could have been a lot worse.
It could have been. The bank did have patrons. It wasn't just the bank and tellers. He was armed with a handgun, so we are taking this serious.
Tonight at 11, what information police need from you to help them find the bank robber?
Getting people safely out from deep inside the USS Wisconsin, all while dealing with the dangers of close confined spaces. That's the training that Norfolk Fire and Rescue got to take part in today. And News Channel 3's Deminis Brown has more from inside the Wisconsin.
Ready, pull.
Ready, pull.
These crews were on the move, working to rescue a man stuck in a tight spot on the USS Wisconsin with little air to breathe and time working against him.
A worker that was down about 4 decks below in the ship, stuck in a confined space. So we had to utilize ropes or confined space equipment and bring some of our disciplines together to effect a rescue to get him up out of the confined space.
Equipped with rope, oxygen tanks, and heavy equipment, this team helped pull this man to safety. But while this all might look real, it's only an exercise.
But it is very difficult and it's challenging, and that's what makes it so good about being able to come out and train like this.
The Southside Regional Technical Rescue Team, made up of firefighters from around Southside Hampton Roads, were on board the USS Wisconsin to put their rescue training skills to work. In this exercise, firefighters with the cities of Norfolk, Portsmouth, and Virginia Beach worked together to practice confined space and rope rescue training as if it were the real thing. The USS Wisconsin is not only a tourist attraction, but crews say that this ship is in a perfect location with an ideal setup for training exercises like this in case a real-life emergency happens here in Hampton Roads on a ship, whether it happens to a visitor on the Wisconsin or a worker somewhere else. Why is it so important to use the Wisconsin to do this type of exercise?
It was just great because it's an actual, it's a real boat, so that everything in that is actual, the spaces, the size of the holes, and everything that we have to deal with, whether it's over at the shipyard, whether it's at a Navy vessel, wherever we happen to be. It gives us real-life training and a real-life experience.
Important training to help people stay safe. In Norfolk, Demenis Brown, News Channel 3.
Mission complete. The rocket that launched from NASA's Wallops Island last month on the Eastern Shore re-entered the Earth's atmosphere this morning. The goal of the journey was to show that the commercial rocket would be a good option to send supplies to the International Space Station. The rocket was docked with the ISS for 3.5 weeks before detaching last night. NASA says the cargo ship re-entered the Earth's atmosphere this morning just after 1:30, where it burned up over the Pacific Ocean. The rocket delivered 1,300 pounds of gear to the space station. This is video of when it launched last month. Before this mission, SpaceX was the only other commercial resupplier to the space station. But with this successful trip, that's changed. NASA now plans to launch another rocket from Wallops Island in December.
Well, we saw the sun break out this afternoon, and it was nice to see that to warm us up. The exact opposite. Rocky, and you can join in that debate, and that's a debate we've been having here the last couple of days.
My husband, I think, just runs hot because I swear our house, he likes it so that you can practically ski down the stairs. It's so cold.
I think that's great sleeping weather. I don't like to be cold, but at night when it's cold and you have the blanket up there, I think it's great to sleep.
We rely a lot on our fireplace.
Yeah, and that also is a big help, but it is kind of an ongoing battle. Off, on, off, on.
We'll be right back. Getting a good meal made fast from scratch, it can be a challenge in your kitchen. But what about doing it at sea, confined to a Navy ship's galley? Some Norfolk sailors got a rare opportunity to train with executive chefs to get a little faster in the kitchen. And it is a story that we're working on with our partners at the flagship military newspaper. The Norfolk Navy Food Management Team hosted the event. 15 sailors got to work with items that they would find in a typical Navy ship and prepare dishes like puff pastries and lasagna. The 5 executive chefs worked on different skills like knife techniques to help improve speed, and you need a lot of speed when you're making dinner for the whole ship. You can read more about the event in tomorrow's edition of the flagship military newspaper and check out my article about Halloween.
But that is a challenge, though, in the galley. You know, you're like, this much space.
I tell you, though, I have eaten from the galley of an Army boat. An Army boat, yes, I said an Army boat. Fantastic. Ooh. So good.
Now we're ready for dinner?
Yes.